Hey guys, how we going? Hey Andy, good to see you here. I think Sensei gave you that membership, so yeah, make sure to thank him. Who else we got in chat? Anyone else there? I know the numbers here don't seem to accurately reflect how many are viewing. I know last week we were showing 2 and we had 5 in chat, so I think YouTube's a bit funny with the numbers sometimes. We'll give it a couple of minutes and get some more rolling in. Got a pretty full list of items for tonight, so it's been a pretty big week for EVs, and we'll get some a number of news items through. Right, sharing here. Sorry, we'll just get this up and running while we're waiting for people to come in. All right, so the first bit of news that came in during the week was the some more details on the whole Volkswagen and Rivian partnership. Key points: Volkswagen will be switching to Rivian's technology and software for new cars in the second half of the decade. The software, Rivian software will be the basis for all VW brands in the future. So that includes Porsche, Audi, Lamborghini, and that'll reduce the complexity as far as software control units in those vehicles. So talking about a reduction of 70 to 80 to 7, which is a problem that a lot of brands, CEOs have highlighted, and one of the big advantages Tesla have with their full in-house software development, and the fact that they can do everything themselves. This way they've reduced the number of things they have to do to make any over-the-air updates and that kind of thing. The transfer of staff between Rivian and the joint venture. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very interesting to see how all this plays out. VW have a interesting way of doing things. Whether that's going to gel well with Rivian is going to remain to be seen, and how much influence it's going to have on Rivian, and whether that's going to hamper them more than it's going to help them or not. Certainly the cash is going to help them, given they're losing money on vehicles. But there's a very different goals in the two organisations, so it's going to be interesting to see how they all gel together and whether that's going to help or not. Noting also that Cybertruck has already eclipsed Rivian in sales in Q2, despite that Rivian had a first mover advantage in that sort of a realm. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, and good luck to them. We'll see how they go. We heard about the recall for Tesla vehicles. A recall for an over-the-air update that actually went out a good 40-odd days ago. Again, some of the media beat-ups that have come up on that, making it out to be a safety-critical issue. The actual recall was just for an extra warning if you haven't closed the bonnet or front, if you're in the US, properly. There already is an indication that it's open, but it's just an extra indication. and that's has been kind of blown out of proportion again. And like I said, was fixed over the air way back in 20.3, I think it was, or something like that. So definitely not a recall by any stretch of the imagination, as we see here in the list here. Tesla aren't even anywhere near the top 10 as far as number of recalls or vehicles affected by recall. These numbers here, I just grabbed this one quickly, but I've seen other ones that are actually factored in by number of vehicles on the road, so they're probably about a bit better representation, but still they're nowhere near the most. By vehicles on road, Ford had the most recalls, and they've had it for the last 3 years running. So there's certainly it's not a massive issue for Tesla, as some will make you believe. But yeah, if anyone's concerned about that, it was fixed in 20.3, and it's only an issue if you haven't closed your bonnet front properly. As long as you make sure that's closed properly, like any other vehicle, you don't have an issue. See some people coming in. Like I said, these live viewers seems to be a bit funny with YouTube at the moment. Please let me know if you're coming in. Let me know who's here. Just drop something in chat there, it'd be great. Yeah, so other news, we see that Elon's got a meeting with the CEOs of Samsung and Hyundai. I believe that's happening in the next few days, discussing partnership opportunities. The interesting thing is this meeting was requested by the CEO of Samsung and may have been done in partnership with Hyundai. Could have been a brokered meeting. But the interesting thing is, being involved in larger organizations, you don't get meetings of CEOs like that without, it's usually something's been happening in the background for quite a long time before you get to this sort of level of a meeting. This is kind of normally the last steps in some sort of partnership. So it'll be interesting to see if we see anything coming out of that in the near future. We know Samsung obviously supply the cameras in the Tesla vehicles, but obviously involved in tech, batteries, all that sort of stuff. So the fact it's so public and we've got such a high-level meeting, I really think there's been something brewing in the background with all three companies, whether that's a FSD sort of partnership with Hyundai, potentially looking some sort of large-scale manufacturing through Samsung. Obviously, Tesla developed their own hardware, but they would need, if they're going to be producing millions of vehicles, somebody who's got the high-tech plants to do that at scale, and Samsung certainly would fit that bill. So it's going to be interesting to see if it's something to do with the new low-cost unit. It could be something to do with that. If they're going to be pumping out a lot of those, they may need support from Hyundai. But given it was actually prompted by Hyundai, it seems it suggests that there's some sort of deal in the works there. Hey, Pete, how you going? All right. And shout out to Kev's Tesla for this one. He did give me a heads up on this one last week, but I was waiting for the official word on it before we said anything. Let me just bring back up the screen. So we found out during the week, or we had the official announcement of the partnership with Tesla and Zurich for Insure My Tesla in Australia. Now, this isn't the same as the type of setup they have in the US. And I believe they're about to launch it in China as well, where Tesla's actually offering insurance themselves. This is just a partnership of some sort. I'm seeing mixed results. I've seen a lot of people saying that they're getting, quotes around the $5,000 mark, which is quite ridiculous, while some others, including myself, are around the 1,500, which is in line with other providers. Mine was 1,570, including FSD and all the rest of it. It asked for paint colors and all that sort of stuff. So definitely works well. But it's good that it's all integrated with the Tesla app, and you can request repairs through the Tesla app, through the Tesla network. So there's some benefits there, but I think it does need to get a little bit more affordable. And the funny thing with insurances is they seem to target very specific demographics. I've seen instances where somebody who gets a premium from insurer A that's very low and insurer B that's ridiculous, it's like 10 times higher, and the next person has the exact opposite experience. So I think that each insurer sort of targets a very specific demographic, and if you don't fit into that demographic, they get these wild quotes. So hopefully, give it time. If Tesla's going to be working with these guys, they may be able to pass some generalized data of the entire Tesla network. I don't think they're going to be doing the safety score or anything like that, like they do in the US. That would be an opt-in type of thing. But if they're working with this insurer and other insurers, then maybe that we'll see some better pricing come through eventually. Question from Pete. I don't use an app myself. Well, I kind of do. I've got Amber as my power supplier, and I'm currently testing alpha tester for their EV control. That does give me some information on the kilowatts charged and that kind of thing. So that's all I use just for my own personal recording of my costs, and I keep a spreadsheet of any costs I use for charging, both at home and on road trips, and just compare it to what I'm saving for from a ICE vehicle. I don't know if Charge HQ or something like that might suit what you need there. Yeah, quite likely to. But yeah, I do find it's funny, even the larger ones, that sometimes a person will get a ridiculous quote from one of them, but another person gets a really good quote from that same one. So who knows? Yeah. Are you aware of the tax department, the way they're dealing with EV charging at home? There's a cents per kilometre. I think it's 43 cents per kilometre or something like that. That might be wrong. I don't remember what it is, but there is a cents per kilometre that you can claim with novated leases and that kind of thing. I'm guessing it'd be the same sort of thing for if you're claiming from work for usage. Maybe worth looking into. Anyhow, going on to some of the supercharger information. And again, a shout out to Kev on his trip. He's should be arriving, or just arrived into Adelaide, I believe. I know he's just driven today from Brisbane to Adelaide. And the Hay supercharger has opened in the last 24, 48 hours. It's a shame that he doesn't have his Tesla yet. Could have tested it out, but he's taken this photo for us. Much appreciated. So it's a 6-stall version 4 supercharger in a great location for that trip to Adelaide. So that'll help that top route to Adelaide from Sydney or Canberra or even Brisbane. So yeah, thanks to Kev for sending that through to us. We've got another potential site at North Mackay. Here we go. No, so the V4s, sorry, I'll just show that comment. The V4s are generally being retrofitted into the sites that are open to all cars. I'm pretty sure Hay is open to all cars. If it's not already, it will be soon. But the advantage of the V4s is they have a longer cable, so they're more suited to the sites that are open to all cars. So a lot of the ones that are Campbelltown from memory is one of them. There's quite a few that had V3s or V2s that have now been swapped out for V4s because of the fact that they're more suited for the other vehicles. So here's North Mackay. This one was posted on a Facebook page, I believe, with a comment that it was an EV network, but I don't believe it is. I believe it is a Tesla supercharger. Looking at the layout, we've got a friend of the channel on X who's taken a couple other photos as well, Mrs. G, and she'll get some photos as that construction goes along and confirm that it is a Tesla supercharger. But, yeah. Good stuff. I did that. I went to from Canberra to Melbourne and then across to Adelaide, also in the rear-wheel drive. It's a good trip, yeah. We did the Great Ocean Road, so we went sort of the long way. That made it a pretty long trip. Are you planning to stop over on the way or just go straight across? It's definitely doable. Yeah, because we did the Great Ocean Road and we did a few sightseeing stops on the way, I probably regret doing it all one hit. We probably should have stayed a night on the way, but yeah, definitely a doable trip in the rear-wheel drive. All right, what else we got here? So we've got a whole bunch of more sites have been released as coming in the next 12 months or so. I will stick to reporting the ones that have come through as under construction, or if we're actually some real knowledge that they're actually happening. Here's one here, which we know that's just got the plans through for Traralgon RSL. Having spent a fair bit of time out eastern Victoria, around this area, Eastdale, and Traralgon's a good spot for a road trip out to that area for sure. What I mentioned last week was Yandina, the ginger factory at Buderim there. That's a brand new site that just popped up out of nowhere. It actually opened yesterday, I believe. There's interesting here that they've got 6 superchargers, V3 superchargers, but they've also got these, just get the pointer up there, wall chargers. There's 6 wall chargers, which I think is a fantastic idea for a place like the Buderim Ginger Factory, where it's kind of a place where you spend a lot of time. It would even be good for shopping centres and that kind of thing. So apparently they're free currently. I'm not sure if they're going to be free forever, but they're 11 kilowatt. Great if you're spending a few hours at the Ginger Factory. Even places with restaurants where you might have dinner or something like that. I think it's a fantastic idea. So you've got the 6 options there for slower charging and 6 fast charging. Even if they start charging, if they start having a lower cost charge for those using those chargers, that would still be a great idea for those that just need to top up for a little bit, or maybe spending a few hours there. Just plug into one of those rather than taking up a supercharger site and leaving those free for the people that are travelling through. Apparently, it is. I've been there a couple of times, and it is pretty easily accessible from the highway. So it's a good spot. All right. This one came to me on X from Jim Pine. It's a couple of EV chargers at Erina Fair, Central Coast. To cover there, so it's what. Now, EV published a whole bunch of sites on Facebook onto their EV Networks page saying these are all new chargers. I'm not sure how new they all are, but I'll just go through them quickly so you can see what they've got. There's the 4Bay there at I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but it's in Queensland. Another one there in Jindalee, Queensland. 4Bay with 2 pedestal shared 2 charges per pedestal. Maroochydore, Queensland. One in Beenleigh, Queensland. Plainland, Caboolture, and New South Wales, Minto. One in Canberra. I haven't actually had a chance to check that out yet. Victoria there. Ramsey, Victoria. Traralgon. So Traralgon's got some good options there with a new Tesla supercharger coming on, and these 2 stalls here hopefully give them a bit more certainty on that route. Carl's Jr. at Wodonga. 4Bay there, Western Australia. All right. Got a little video here I'll share. Popped up on a Facebook page. Sorry, it's the screen again. I believe this one here was filmed in China on FSD, and it's pretty dramatic. Avoiding that car at last second at 120 kilometres an hour. So the first car's just got out of the way at the last minute, not giving them much time at all to avoid that car, but the FSD computers managed to do it for them, potentially save their lives there. It's good to see. Yeah, I prefer EV myself. I haven't seen many ChargeFox around, to be honest. Maybe it's just the routes I've taken, or I just haven't looked hard enough. But I did get myself an EV card. They're freely available. I just carry that. I generally charge Tesla because it's just easier. I think the new system that EV is bringing out, where it allows you to get that sort of Tesla experience charging at their chargers once that gets released fully, that'll be great and make EV even more sort of accessible. But if you're not aware, they've brought out a system. They're testing it currently with some beta testers, where you can plug in and it'll automatically charge your card without you having to go into the app or use a card or anything. So very similar to the Tesla system, basically. So that's going to be great once that gets rolled out. We've seen some new spy shots or leaked shots of the Model Y. The new Juniper Model Y. One here at the back showing a full-length light bar of some sort. And this is kind of a very hard to see interior shot there. All you can really see there is that there's some sort of light bar, some sort of a ambient lighting But there's a couple of renders here, but before I bring them up, I'll just stress that these are just renders. There's no guarantees that these are correct. These are just based on what information is out there, what people think it might look like. But we see that, yeah, it looks like there's some sort of a light bar across the back by the looks of that previous spy shot, and reflected in that render there. There's another few of them, some same sort of thing. It's going to be interesting to see. I think it'll be good. It's, you know, bringing a lot of the Model 3 Highland features to the Model Y, but certainly they've gone a little bit different there with that light bar. Somebody made this render, and again, there's absolutely no basis for this, pure speculation, but they've included a light bar at the front as well. We've seen no spy shots to suggest that there is any such light bar, so take that with a grain of salt. But just a render of what it could potentially look like. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, I don't expect to see it till next year, but with all the spy shots and stuff like that, I'm kind of starting to think it might be earlier next year than later. But it's all just a guesstimate at the moment. Hey, Mark, how you doing? Just catching up in the chat here. Good to know. Okay. Yeah, definitely worth having as a fallback, especially if you come up somewhere and you've got no phone reception or something like that. It's definitely less painful than using the app as well. But I'll be very glad when they have the ability to do it without the app. Oh, nice. Yeah. It's a very straightforward experience. It's the supercharging couldn't be easier. Just pull in and plug in, and you're way to go. It's fantastic. Thanks for that info, Mark. Yeah, it's just a shame that they're generally only 2 or 3, maybe 4 stalls. 4's okay, but the 2's are a little bit less. You know, just to rely on them, it's not great, and especially if one of them's chatter mode anyway. So there's only one stall available. I'd like the fact that with a Tesla supercharger, you've got 12 stalls in a lot of cases, and the reliability of them just means there's no question that you're not going to get a charge. We've got this leaked email potentially from Elon. I'm seeing some sort of confirmation that it does believe to be real. Interesting here. The first part was all previously. We've seen that previously, but this part here that they're working to get to the worldwide rollout, and they're saying that they're expecting that within the next 12 months. So I think Australia, I think I mentioned this last week as well, is likely to be towards the end of that. But it's good to see that there is sort of progress happening there. All right. Other bits and pieces that came through this week. So a good battery repair video. Unfortunately, I was unable to find it again, but it showed a Model S that had to get 2 whole bricks replaced. The cost of the bricks was $3,000. And they also upgraded the pyro fuse because it was an older version. And total work, including labor, was $5,000. So we talked about this last week about the price of a battery repair, and the fact that even at $20,000, it would be still financially viable, given the average age of these batteries, that how long they last and how much you're saving on fuel. But they can get repaired, and there are repairers out there that are starting to get into that. This company that put the video out was a repair company that specialise in repairing EV batteries. And again, yeah, so they had to replace 2 whole bricks of a Model S battery, a very early one, and it was only $5,000 worth. So it's only going to get better as time goes on, as more companies start doing this sort of thing. And batteries are definitely a lot better now than they were previously. So it's great news. It should. Sorry, it's reading Mike's comment. Yeah, if it's plugged in, it should show it. There's still the issue, and we talked about this last week with BYD. Unfortunately, doesn't seem that like they're going to fix the Atto 3's compatibility issues with the superchargers. So if it was plugged into a charger that wasn't open to other vehicles, or it was an Atto 3 that wasn't compatible or something like that, that may cause that. Or if they're taking up two sites, yeah, that definitely show as a site being available that vehicle, unfortunately, may be taking it up. Hopefully, with the version 4 superchargers cable length, that should hopefully minimize that. But yeah, if they're plugged in correctly and the charger is open to non-Tesla vehicles, that should be fine. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't help when they've got charging ports in all different spots. All right, let me just bring up a video here. Yeah, I'm not sure if the sound will come through in this video. Let me know if you can hear any sound at all. This is from the Pasadena police. Some interesting bits that come out of this. Can you guys hear that? Yeah, okay. All right, I'll mute that on my end, and I'll just go through and explain some of the stuff they're talking about. It's interesting. He talks quite a bit about the safety factors and stresses that a number of times in this video. When they evaluated the vehicles, one of their biggest reasons for choosing Tesla was the safety. And they actually give a couple of examples where they've had high-speed pursuits and have gone on with them in the Tesla where they wouldn't have in their previous vehicles because of they just felt like the vehicle was much safer and they were able to willing to go through with it. Yeah, I've seen that in all the police vehicles. They generally fit solid steel wheels because of the harsh environments they going over gutters and that kind of thing. That's quite common. I noticed that with all the vehicles they've converted to police. Some good shots here. The other things they've mentioned, they're saving $4,000 a year on just fuel, which sounds pretty low to me. I pretty much saved that on my car, and I'm not doing as much driving as I would have thought these guys would be doing. But the other thing I've heard from a number of the police departments that are using them is that they spend a lot of time idling, and that's what really kills the ICE engines in the vehicles. They have a lot of wear and tear, a little bit of extra maintenance costs just due to the fact they're sitting there idling all the time. So that's another massive saving that will be above the $4,000 a year, so $80,000 a year US on their 2020 Tesla fleet. They're now 100% Tesla, that whole department. They talked about the range, and they're saying that they're getting the same range for the Model Y as they did in their previous vehicles. So range isn't an issue for them at all. And obviously, they're going to be taking breaks during the day and being able to charge up while they're taking a lunch break or whatever. So it shouldn't be an issue for them at all. Yeah, interesting point. That could be the reason why it sounds slower. Yeah, I do know they spend a lot of time idling and that kind of stuff, but still, it does sound very low to me. But yeah, these are obviously fairly heavily modified. I know I've seen some video from the company that does these modifications, and they've got their whole police computer hooked into the main screen, so they can actually access their whole police databases and that kind of stuff through the main screen, as well as the Tesla software as well. They just flip between the both of them, and obviously, some changes to the way that back section is for criminals to be loaded in. There's a nice shot of the Cybertruck at the end of this as well. Uplift is the company that does the police conversions. Yeah, they've done a Cybertruck as well, and there's a couple of departments using that. So that's good to see. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, great for sneaking up on people. All right. So that's apparently the first all Tesla police fleet. I know there's quite a few fleets around the US that have got a number of Teslas, and some really interesting feedback coming out of all those as well. That the ones that have a mixed fleet, there's basically fights over who gets to drive the Tesla because it's pretty popular amongst the officers apparently. Not surprisingly for us, I guess, but for those that don't quite understand how great the EV experience is, they may not have expected that. All right. Another good one was a report that came out recently about fire safety in car parks. This was a Australian Building Codes Board report that was commissioned by the government, I believe. Let me just bring up the screen. So it's a fairly large report, so I won't go through the whole thing. I'll just show that's the cover of it. I can put the link in the chat if anyone's interested. It's a great one to have if you have people telling you that EVs are dangerous in car parks, or if you're living in a apartment building or something like that, and you have body corporate or something like that saying that they shouldn't have chargers, or you shouldn't even be parking there, or some crap like that. This is a great document to really show how safe they actually are. Some of the highlights, the case studies of major fires in all the car parks internationally, and they've only found there's only been 4 caused by EVs internationally, and the collective damage of those 4 fires was 9 vehicles. If you compare that to fossil fuel vehicles, there's a collective damage of over 3,700 vehicles from fossil fuel vehicles. The most recent being that large car park fire in Luton Airport, which actually wasn't included in this study. It was after the study was done. And that one fire alone, caused by an ice, I think it was a Range Rover from memory, destroyed 1,400 cars and the whole car park. That was a diesel Range Rover from memory. There's another one in Liverpool in 2017. It's destroyed 1,400 cars on its own. So if you believe the myths out there that the EV fires are impossible to put out and that kind of thing, in a car park structure, the fuel and the liquid, aspect of the fuel gets into everything, and it just really sets off a chain reaction and has been significantly more damaging than any EV fire has ever been. So, that's a bit of ammo there if you have that sort of a comment. So in Australia, on average, there's 352 fires in car parks per year, and all of them so far have been fossil fuel vehicles. None of them have been EVs in Australia. There's 30-story apartment block in Sydney that got burnt up last year in May. Virtually nothing in the media at all. Started by a ICE vehicle, and you know for sure that if it had been an EV, it would have been headlines everywhere. So there's no calls for ICE vehicles being banned from car parks. There certainly shouldn't be for any EVs. The other one that came out of that report too, which I found interesting, if you listen to Mr. Car Expert and the likes talking about toxic gases and all that kind of stuff, they certainly do exist, but they found that toxic gases from EV fires is no worse than ICE vehicles. There's similar quantities of CO2, CO, NO, NO2, and BVs are not unique at all in producing toxic gases. All fires produce toxic gases, and the same gases are present in an ICE vehicle. So that's not a valid complaint about EVs either. Another one I've got a shot here of the new Xpeng Mona MO3, apparently the first interior shots. Looks very familiar. Definitely you can see where the design inspiration for that came from. It's virtually a direct copy of the Tesla interior, which is interesting. But still, it's great to see other options out there. But it's interesting that they've almost a direct copy of the Tesla interior there. Also see that BYD have increased their servicing costs, which is interesting. So ranging from $165 minimum cost for the cheapest service up to $635,000. So that's a pretty massive increase. Especially when you have Teslas going around at the moment with $100,000 kilometers on the clock, and they've had no service costs at all. To have a forced servicing schedule like that, and those sort of prices, when we've seen videos now of BYD servicing, and they've virtually done nothing other than change the windscreen washer fluid, which is all you really should need for a EV anyway. So that's interesting to say the least. I'd really like to see what they're doing for that $635, that's for sure. Some good news, MG is increasing their warranty period for their EVs to 10 years. So that's, I believe, the longest warranty period around. That does come with the same sort of mandatory servicing though. So it's you'd have to really sort of add up how much you would spend over that 10 years on servicing, whether it's going to be worth it for the extra 6 years of warranty or not. Another one that I saw in some forums recently was discussions on using Nissan Leafs, people buying secondhand Nissan Leafs to use them as basically a home battery. You can get a second-hand Nissan Leaf from about $30,000, I understand. with a good 40 kilowatt hour battery. And that's a pretty interesting way of getting battery storage for home a lot cheaper than it would cost for a Tesla Powerwalls, and you get a free car to go with it. I'll have to check with Bosco at Amazing EV. He's a good supporter of the channel, and he's got a great service there with selling secondhand EVs. See how much these are going for, and it's definitely something that's worth looking at, I think. Had a good chat with Amber actually as well, the electricity provider, about some other stuff, and I was talking to a couple of their developers. They mentioned that they are doing some very early testing with vehicle to load from Nissan Leafs and similar. One of them was aware of the fact that there was a recent test with Model 3s and Model Ys showing that they can do vehicle to load through the DC output, about 5 kilowatt at the time. 5 kilowatt capacity. If you can hook that up into a battery somehow, you can certainly do vehicle to load with those as well. But it's going to require some hardware to make that work. So that'll be interesting. That's definitely a great option there to make use of those batteries. All right. That's what I had for this week. Any comments or questions in the chat there? Seems like it's a pretty quiet night. We might call it early then and come back next week. Thanks for watching. Please give us that like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks, guys.